Once upon a time, there lived a woman named Madame Cheniere. She was rich, very rich. People in the city called her the Iron Lady because she always looked strong and serious. She was tall, elegant, and carried herself with pride. Her husband, Chief Obiora, had died 2 years ago, leaving her in charge of his massive business empire. Since then, she had been the one making decisions at board meetings, attending events, and keeping the family name alive. Many people respected her, but some feared her. She never let her emotions show in public. But deep inside, Cheniere was lonely. She had no children of her own. She lived in a huge mansion with servants and drivers, yet her nights were quiet. She missed her husband, even though he had not always been faithful to her. She missed what it felt like to have someone close. On one rainy evening, after a very long meeting with her company's board, she sat in the back seat of her black SUV. The driver was quiet, only focusing on the road. The rain poured heavily, making loud sounds on the roof of the car. The city streets were almost empty. Streetlights reflected on the wet roads, making everything shine like glass. Cheniere leaned back in her seat, closing her eyes. She was tired. The board had been fighting again about shares, profits, and who should control what. It felt like everyone only wanted money. Nobody cared about her feelings. She thought, is this my life now? Just meetings, arguments, and loneliness? The car slowed down as they reached a traffic light. The red signal shone bright in the rain. Cheniere opened her eyes and looked outside. That was when she saw something that made her sit up straight. By the corner of the street, under the rain, stood a young boy. He could not have been more than 12 years old. He was barefoot, his clothes torn and soaked, sticking to his thin body. In his arms, he carried a baby wrapped in a wet cloth. Beside him, on the ground, was another baby, crying weakly under a piece of dirty fabric. The boy was holding out his hand to cars, begging. His lips trembled from cold, but he did not stop. The rain poured over him, yet he kept whispering something no one could hear. The sight of the crying babies broke the silence of the night. Cheniere gasped. "Stop the car," she said quickly. The driver turned his head, surprised. "Madam, it is not safe. These are street children." "Did you not hear me?" Her voice was sharp. "Stop the car now." The driver sighed and pulled the car to the side. Cheniere lowered the tinted window. Rain splashed into the car as she looked directly at the boy. "Come here," she called out. The boy hesitated, clutching the baby tighter. His eyes were big and fearful. The baby in his arms coughed. "Please come," Cheniere repeated, her tone softer. The boy slowly walked closer, dragging his feet in the water. When he reached the car, Cheniere saw his face clearly for the first time. Her breath caught in her throat. His eyes, his nose, even the shape of his jaw. He looked so much like her late husband, Chief Obiora, when he was young. She stared at him, confused and shaken. The boy bent down slightly, shielding the baby from the rain. "Madam, please help us," he said in a weak voice. "We have not eaten since yesterday." Cheniere's heart pounded. She looked at the twins again. One baby was coughing badly. The other was crying nonstop. The driver whispered from the front seat, "Madam, let us go. There are many children on the street. You cannot save them all." Cheniere snapped, "Do you not have a heart? Look at those babies. Do you want them to die here?" The driver kept quiet. Cheniere leaned closer to the window. "What is your name, boy?" "My name is Ebuka," the boy replied, his voice shaking. "These are my sisters." He looked down at the baby in his arms. "This one is Ifunanya. The one crying is Ijoma. Mama's gone. She died last week. I am all they have." Cheniere pressed her hand to her chest. The pain in the boy's words cut deep. "How old are you?" she asked gently. 12, madam." "And how old are the babies?" "They are 6 months. Mama told me to take care of them, but I don't know how. I try to beg for food, but sometimes people chase us away. I don't want them to die." His lips quivered as he spoke. Tears mixed with raindrops on his face. Cheniere looked at him for a long time. A strange feeling grew inside her chest. She could not explain it, but it was pulling her toward the boy. She thought again of Chief Obiora. The resemblance was too strong. Could it be? She shook her head quickly. "No, not now. Do not think of that." The driver turned back again. "Madam, it is late. If you help this one, tomorrow you will find another one. Let us go before trouble comes." "Enough," Chinyer snapped. "Open the back door." The driver hesitated, then obeyed. Chinyer stretched out her hand. "Ebuka, bring the babies. Get into the car." Ebuka looked frightened. "Madam, are you sure? We are dirty. People don't like us. They say we smell." Chinyer's eyes softened. "You are children, not trash. Get in." Slowly, Ebuka climbed into the car, still clutching the baby. The other baby cried louder as the driver placed her on the seat beside him. The smell of damp cloth filled the car, but Chinyer ignored it. She quickly took off her expensive silk scarf and wrapped it around the crying baby. "Shh, it's okay," she whispered as she rocked the little girl. The baby coughed weakly and closed her eyes. Ebuka stared at her with wide eyes. "Nobody has ever carried her like that since Mama died," he whispered. Chinyer felt her throat tighten. She turned to him. "Ebuka, where do you live?" The boy lowered his head. "We don't have a house. We sleep under the bridge. Mama used to sell fruits, but when she got sick, everything ended. After she died, I had no one, just me and them." Her eyes filled with tears. For years, she had prayed for children. She had begged God, but it never happened. Now here she was, in the rain, holding two babies that were not hers, with a boy who looked like her late husband. The driver cleared his throat nervously. "Madam, where should I drive?" Chinyer looked out at the dark, rainy road. Her mind was racing. She knew she should have just given them money and left, but her heart would not allow her. "Take us home," she said firmly. The driver froze. "Home? Madam, are you sure?" Chinyeri's eyes narrowed. "Do not question me again. Drive." The car moved forward. Inside, silence filled the air, except for the sound of the baby's breathing and the rain hitting the roof. Ebuka looked down at his sisters, then back at Chinyer. "Madam, thank you. I thought we would die tonight, but you stopped. Nobody ever stops for us." Chinyer looked at the boy, and for the first time in years, her cold heart cracked open. She reached out and touched his shoulder gently. "You are safe now, Ebuka," she whispered. "You and your sisters are safe." The boy's lips trembled again. But this time it was not from cold. It was from relief. And as the car drove through the storm toward her mansion, Madame Chinyer's life, so controlled, so lonely, was about to change forever. The car drove slowly through the rain, heading toward Madame Chinyer's mansion. Inside the vehicle, the air felt heavy. Ebuka sat stiffly on the seat, holding one of the babies close to his chest. The child coughed weakly, and he rocked her with trembling hands. The other baby was asleep, wrapped in Madame Chinyeri's silk scarf, her tiny face peaceful for the first time that night. Chinyeri's eyes never left the children. She sat still. Her hands folded tightly on her lap, but her mind was restless. Every time she glanced at Ebuka's face, she felt her heart skip. The boy's resemblance to her late husband was too sharp to ignore. His nose, his jawline, even the way his eyes widened when he was scared. It was like looking at Chief Obiora's childhood pictures. She bit her lip and forced herself to look away. "Do not think about that now. Focus on the children." The driver broke the silence. "Madam, should I stop by a clinic first? The babies don't look well. It is raining and their clothes are wet." Chinyer hesitated. Her instincts screamed that the babies needed care, but her mind battled with questions. Who exactly were these children? Why did this boy look like her husband? Was this a trap? Was someone using children to pull her in? Her chest tightened. For years, she had controlled her emotions. She never made decisions with her heart, only her head. But tonight, her heart was louder than her head. "Drive straight home," she said at last, her voice calm but firm. "Yes, madam." The car moved faster. Ebuka looked up at her, his lips trembling. "Madam, will you send us away when we reach your house?" Chinyer turned her head sharply to him. "Why do you ask that?" "Because everyone does," he whispered. "Sometimes kind people give us food, but when we try to stay near their shops or their houses, they shout and push us away. They say we will bring bad luck. They don't want to see us again." His voice cracked. "I don't want you to push us away, madam. I don't have anywhere else to go." The words pierced Chinyere's heart. She looked at the boy again. His eyes were full of fear and hope. Like someone who had seen too much pain for his age, She drew in a deep breath. I told you before, you are safe with me tonight. But tomorrow, the boy pressed, his voice shaky. Will you still want us tomorrow? Chinyere blinked. For the first time in many years, she had no answer. She looked away, hiding her emotions. The rest of the drive passed in silence. The rain continued to pour, hitting the glass windows like tiny stones. Chinyere's mansion finally appeared in the distance, its lights glowing through the storm. When the car pulled into the large compound, the security guards rushed to open the gates. They looked shocked when they saw the boy and babies inside the car, but they said nothing. The SUV stopped at the front steps. A maid hurried forward with an umbrella, but froze when she noticed the children. Madam, the maid said carefully, do you want me to? Take the babies inside, Chinyere interrupted. The maid's eyes widened, but she obeyed. Ibuka clutched the baby tighter and shook his head. No, don't take them from me. Chinyere stepped out of the car, rain soaking the edges of her gown. She placed a hand on Ibuka's shoulder. It's all right. No one will hurt them. Come with me. Slowly, Ibuka followed her up the steps, still holding the baby close. The maid carried the other twin behind them. Inside the mansion, the warm lights and marble floors made Ibuka stop in awe. His bare feet left wet prints on the shiny ground. He looked around, eyes wide, as though he had stepped into another world. The housekeeper, Madame Ngozi, appeared, her hands on her hips. She was a tall woman with sharp eyes who had served Chinyere for many years. She frowned deeply when she saw the children. Madam, Ngozi said firmly, who are these people? Where did you find them? Chinyere's face hardened. They are children. That is all you need to know. Ngozi shook her head. But madam, this is dangerous. You don't know them. You don't know their background. Bringing street children into this house. Enough, Chinyere snapped. Prepare warm water and blankets. The babies need care immediately. Ngozi's mouth tightened, but she turned and gave orders to the other servants. Chinyere guided Ibuka to a sofa. Sit here. You must be tired. Ibuka shook his head. No, madam, I can stand. I don't want to dirty your chair. Chinyere sat beside him and placed a hand on his arm. Sit. Slowly he obeyed. His body was stiff, as though afraid the soft cushion would swallow him. The maid returned with warm towels and dry clothes. She carefully took the coughing baby from Ibuka's arms, and for a moment he panicked. Please, give her back. She is safe, Chinyere reassured. They are only helping. Ibuka looked at her with desperate eyes. I don't trust anyone, madam. I only trust Mama. But Mama's gone. The words made her chest ache. She gently touched his cheek. Then trust me tonight. The boy blinked at her, then slowly nodded. A few minutes later, the babies were wrapped in clean towels, lying in soft cribs that had been rushed out from the nursery Chinyere had never used. Their small chests rose and fell, their cries now softer. Ibuka sat quietly watching them. His clothes were wet, his lips pale. One of the maids approached with fresh clothes for him, but he shook his head. No, these are mine. Mama gave me this shirt. I cannot remove it. Chinyere studied him closely. When did your mother die? Last week, he whispered. His shoulders trembled. She was sick. She kept coughing blood. She told me, Ibuka, you are the man now. Take care of your sisters. I promised her I would, but it is hard. I don't know what to do. Sometimes I beg, sometimes I cry, but nobody listens. His voice broke. I don't want to fail Mama. Tears filled Chinyere's eyes, but she blinked them back. You have been very brave, Ibuka. You kept your promise. Look, they are alive because of you. Ibuka shook his head. But they are hungry. Sometimes they cry all night. I don't know how to feed them well. I try to give them water. I even begged for milk, but people chased me away. The room fell silent, except for the sound of the rain outside. Chinyere sat back, her thoughts heavy. The boy's words stabbed at her heart. She had lived in abundance all her life. She had maids, cooks, drivers. And yet here was a child who carried the weight of 2 infants on his fragile shoulders. Her driver appeared at the doorway. Madam, with respect, I must say this. You cannot keep them here. People will talk. They will say you have lost your mind. What if they are linked to something bad? What if it is a trap? Trap? Chinyere's voice was cold. What trap could a 12-year-old boy with 2 sick babies set for me? Does he look like a criminal to you? The driver lowered his head. I only want your safety, madam. My safety? She repeated bitterly. Tell me, is my heart not safe to care for children? The driver had no answer. Chinière stood up and walked to the window. The rain had slowed, but her thoughts were a storm. She had always guarded herself. She had always been careful, proud, and distant. But tonight, something inside her was changing. She turned back to Ibuka. Listen to me, boy. You will not sleep under the bridge tonight. You will not beg in the rain. Not while I am alive. Ibuka's eyes filled with tears. Madam, do you mean it? Yes, she said softly. But inside her mind screamed with doubts. Could she really do this? Could she keep children who reminded her so painfully of her late husband? Her heart and her mind battled fiercely. As the babies whimpered in their cribs, she pressed a hand to her chest. She could feel it, the hesitation, the fear, but also the compassion she had buried for so long. The night stretched on, filled with questions she could not yet answer. But one thing was clear. The boy and the twins had stepped into her life, and nothing would ever be the same again. The mansion was quiet except for the soft cries of the babies. It was late into the night, and the servants had already withdrawn to their quarters, whispering among themselves about Madame Chinière's unusual decision. No one in the house could understand why their madam, the woman who had never allowed strangers to cross her gates, had suddenly carried street children into her home. But in the living room, Chinière sat wide awake. She had changed into a simple robe, yet she could not relax. Her eyes kept drifting toward the cribs where the twins now slept. Ibuka too sat nearby, his hands clasped together, his back straight, as though afraid that if he blinked, someone would take his sisters away. The silence was heavy, broken only by the sound of the grandfather clock ticking on the wall. Chinière finally spoke. You are still awake, Ibuka. You should sleep. The boy shook his head quickly. No, madam. If I sleep, maybe someone will carry them away. I promised Mama I would never let them out of my sight. Her lips pressed together. No one will take them. They are safe here. Ibuka's eyes softened for a moment, but his body remained tense. The housekeeper, Ngozi, entered the room carrying a tray of warm tea for Chinière. She set it down on the glass table with more force than necessary. Madam, she said in a low but firm voice, I must speak to you. Chinière raised her brow. Go on. Ngozi folded her arms. It is not wise to bring them here. The staff are already afraid. They are saying bad things will follow this house. What will people outside say tomorrow? That Madame Chinière, the Iron Lady, has turned her mansion into a charity home? Chinière's jaw tightened. Since when do I make decisions based on gossip? Ngozi sighed. Madam, you are a respected woman. You are a widow of great standing. Why risk everything for children you don't even know? Her eyes flicked toward Ibuka, who sat quietly, pretending not to listen. Though every word stabbed his heart, he bent his head lower, ashamed. Chinière noticed his face and snapped at Ngozi. Enough. Do not speak about them as if they are dirt. They are children, not criminals. Ngozi hesitated, then bowed her head slightly. Forgive me, madam. I only worry for you. She turned and left the room, muttering under her breath. Chinière exhaled slowly, then looked back at Ibuka. Do not mind her. She speaks too much sometimes. Ibuka whispered. She doesn't like us. Chinière leaned forward. What matters is that I let you in. Not her. The boy's eyes met hers, and for the first time, there was a flicker of trust. Just then, one of the babies began to cough and cry. Ibuka jumped to his feet immediately. It is Ijoma. She coughs like this all the time. Chinière stood up too, concern rushing over her. Call the doctor, she ordered one of the maids who had returned. The maid ran out to make the call. Ibuka carried the baby in his thin arms, rocking her gently. Shh, don't cry, Ijoma. Brother is here. His voice broke as he whispered, Please don't leave me too. Chinière stepped closer and touched the baby's forehead. It was warm. She has a fever, she said. The front doors opened quickly, and the family doctor, Dr. Okafor, arrived with his medical bag. He was a tall, middle-aged man with kind eyes who had been treating Chinière for years. Madam, he greeted respectfully, I came as soon as I heard. He walked to the baby and examined her carefully, listening to her breathing and checking her chest. "What is wrong with her?" Chinyer asked anxiously. Dr. Okafor adjusted his glasses. "The child has caught a bad cold, maybe even pneumonia. She has been exposed to the rain for too long. She needs medicine, rest, and care." Ibuka clutched his sister tighter, fear flashing across his face. "Is she going to die? Please, doctor, don't let her die. I already lost Mama. I cannot lose Ijoma too." The doctor looked at him with sympathy. "She will be fine if she is treated, but she must stay warm and she must eat." "I will do anything," Ibuka said desperately. "Just tell me what to do." Chinyer placed a hand on his shoulder. "She will be fine, Ibuka. We will take care of her here." The doctor turned to Chinyer and spoke quietly. "Madam, forgive me for saying this, but the boy, he looks very familiar." Her heart skipped. "Familiar?" "Yes," the doctor nodded. "He looks almost exactly like Chief Obiora when he was young. I remember the chief well. The resemblance is striking." Chinyere's eyes widened slightly, but she quickly controlled her expression. "Children can resemble anyone. Do not speak such things." The doctor gave her a searching look, then bowed. "As you say, madam." He handed over medicine and gave instructions to the maid. When he left, Chinyer sat back down, her hands trembling slightly. The thought she had been pushing away since the roadside came back stronger. Could this boy truly be related to my husband? She glanced at Ibuka, who was now humming softly to calm Ijoma. His small arms looked too weak for such responsibility, yet his determination was stronger than any adult's. The boy lifted his head suddenly. "Madam," he asked, "why are you helping us? People always walk past us. Some even kick me when I beg. But you stopped." Her lips parted, but no words came out. She could not tell him the truth, that his face was haunting her with memories of her late husband. She simply said, "Because it is the right thing to do." Ibuka studied her for a moment, then whispered, "Mama said there are still good people in this world. Maybe she was talking about you." Chinyere's throat tightened. She turned away, hiding her face. The night dragged on and the mansion grew still again. The baby slept after the medicine, and Ibuka finally rested on the couch, though his body was curled tightly, as if ready to wake at any sound. Chinyere stood by the window, staring at the rain as it slowed to a drizzle. Her mind was full of storms. She had brought strangers into her home, and already they were stirring up questions she was not ready to face. But as she watched Ibuka's thin frame protectively curled beside the cribs, she knew one thing for sure. Her life had just changed, and there was no going back. The night faded slowly into morning. The rain had stopped, leaving the air cool and fresh. Golden sunlight slipped through the large windows of Madame Chignier's mansion, falling softly on the living room where the three strangers had slept. Ibuka stirred first. He blinked, confused at the ceiling above him. For so long he had woken to the sight of cracked concrete under the bridge or the open sky above the street. But now he saw chandeliers and polished walls. For a moment, he thought it was a dream. Then he turned and saw the cribs where his sisters lay sleeping peacefully. He sat up quickly, rushing to check them. "Ijoma, Ifunanya," he whispered. He touched their small hands. They were warm, not cold. They were breathing well. Relief swept over him, and his lips curved into a small smile. From the staircase, Madame Chignier descended slowly, dressed in a simple but elegant wrapper and blouse. She carried herself with the same grace she always did, but her eyes were tired. She had not slept much. Her mind had been restless, wrestling with questions. Her gaze fell on Ibuka, and she paused. The boy was leaning over the crib, his thin frame hunched protectively, his lips moving as though he was praying. Something tugged at her chest again. "Good morning," she said softly. Ibuka jumped, turning quickly. "Good morning, madam." "You did not sleep well?" she asked. He shook his head. "I cannot sleep deeply when they are here. I must always watch them. Mama told me never to let them out of my sight." Her heart squeezed at his words. "You are only 12. You should not carry such a burden." Ibuka lowered his head. "But I am all they have." Chignier walked closer, her footsteps echoing on the marble floor. She stood beside the crib, watching the babies. For a long time, she said nothing. Then her eyes shifted to Ibuka again. Up close, she could not deny it. The boy's features looked too much like her late husband's. She looked away quickly, hiding the storm in her chest. "Come," she said after a pause. "You must eat. You look weak." He hesitated, his eyes darting back to the twins. "Can I carry them with me?" "They will be safe here," she replied firmly. "Ngozi and the maids will watch them. Trust me." He swallowed hard, then nodded. Slowly, he followed her to the dining room. The table was long, filled with food, bread, eggs, tea, fruits. Chenier gestured for him to sit. He sat at the edge of the chair, his back stiff, his eyes wide. He looked at the plates as though he had never seen such a spread before. "Eat," she encouraged. Ibuka reached out slowly, taking one slice of bread. He chewed carefully, as if afraid someone would scold him. After a while, he took another, then another. His hunger showed, though he tried to remain polite. Chenier watched him silently, her mind racing. She remembered how Chief Obiora, her late husband, would sometimes return home late with excuses about work. She remembered the whispers of women she had chosen to ignore. Could this boy be proof of those whispers? Her chest tightened, and she pushed the thought aside. "Where is your father, Ibuka?" she asked suddenly. The boy froze, his hand halfway to his mouth. He lowered the bread slowly, his eyes dimmed. "Papa is gone." "Gone?" she pressed. "What do you mean?" He looked down at his lap. "He used to visit sometimes, but after Mama became sick, he stopped coming. Then Mama told me he had died. She cried so much that day." Chiniere's fingers tightened on the edge of her chair. "Do you remember his name?" Ibuka shook his head. "Mama never told me. She only called him Papa." Her throat felt dry. She sipped her tea quickly, trying to steady her emotions. After breakfast, Ibuka returned to the twins, and Cheniere retreated to her study. She closed the door and leaned against it, her breathing unsteady. The image of the boy's face would not leave her mind. She opened one of the old family albums and flipped through. Pictures of Chief Obiora as a child stared back at her. The resemblance was undeniable. She slammed the book shut. "No," she whispered. "I will not jump to conclusions. Not yet." The day passed slowly. Servants continued whispering, avoiding the children but stealing curious glances. Ngozi, the housekeeper, approached Cheniere again in the afternoon. "Madam, forgive me, but you cannot keep them here," Ngozi insisted. "People are already talking. They say the children look like the chief. Do you not see it?" Cheniere's eyes hardened. "I do not care what they say," Ngozi's voice rose. "But it is true. Even Dr. Okafor said the same thing last night. If the boy is truly his son, what will that mean for you? For the family name? For the inheritance?" "Silence!" Cheniere snapped, her voice echoing in the room. "Do not speak of such things again in this house." Ngozi bowed quickly and left, but her face was filled with worry. That evening, while the babies were being fed, Cheniere sat beside Ibuka. She noticed something shining under the collar of his old shirt. "What is that?" she asked. Ibuka hesitated, then slowly pulled it out. It was a small pendant necklace, old and scratched. Cheniere's eyes widened instantly. She knew that pendant. Years ago, she had given it to Chief Obiora on their wedding anniversary. He had worn it proudly, saying he would keep it forever. Her hand trembled as she reached out. "Where did you get this?" Ibuka looked at it, then back at her. "Papa gave it to me," he said quietly. "He said it was special. He told me never to lose it." The room spun around her. Her heart pounded in her ears. She clutched the arm of the chair, staring at the pendant, then at the boy's face. The truth she had tried to push away now stared her directly in the eye. Madame Cheniere sat frozen, her eyes locked on the pendant in Ibuka's hand. The small silver chain glistened under the light, its charm scratched from years of use, yet still recognizable. Her breathing grew shallow as old memories rushed back. She remembered standing beside Chief Obiora many years ago, slipping that very pendant into his palm as an anniversary gift. He had smiled then, promising never to remove it, and yet here it was, hanging around the neck of a boy she had picked from the street. Her voice shook. "You said your papa gave this to you?" Ibuka nodded carefully, unsure why she looked so frightened. "Yes, madam. He gave it to me before he..." before he stopped coming. She leaned forward, her fingers trembling. When did he give it to you? Ibuka thought hard. It was a long time ago, maybe when I was 8 or 9. He came one night to visit Mama. He told me, "You are my son. Keep this close to your heart." I never removed it since then. Chinyere's heart thundered in her chest. "Your son," she whispered under her breath. Ibuka didn't hear her. He touched the pendant again and smiled faintly. "Mama always said it was special. She told me to guard it because Papa wanted me to keep it safe." Chinyere sat back, her chest heavy with dread. All the whispers, all the late nights, all the excuses Obiora had given her when he was alive. Were they true? Had he been seeing another woman while she cooked his meals and welcomed him home? She clenched her fists, anger rising in her throat. But then she looked at the boy again. His innocent eyes stared back at her, unaware of the storm raging inside her heart. "Ibuka," she said slowly, "tell me about your mother." The boy's expression softened with sadness. "Mama's name was Neka. She was kind, madam, very kind. She used to laugh even when we had no food. She told me stories at night so I would not be afraid, but she was always waiting for Papa. She said he would change our lives one day, but he didn't." Chinyere swallowed hard. "And you said Papa stopped coming when she became sick?" "Yes," Ibuka said, his voice breaking. "At first he came often. Sometimes he brought food. Sometimes he gave Mama money. But when she started coughing blood, he stopped. She cried so much. She begged me never to hate him. She said, 'Your papa is a good man, but he is afraid. One day he will return.' But he never did." Tears stung Chinyere's eyes. She turned her face away, ashamed of the emotions she could not hide. Ibuka hesitated, then pulled something from his pocket. It was an old folded photograph. The edges were torn, the ink faded. He opened it carefully and handed it to her. "This is Mama," he said. "She kept this picture safe always. She said it was the proof of their love." Chinyere took the photo with trembling hands. Her eyes fell on the image, and her stomach dropped. There, smiling in the picture, was Chief Obiora, her husband. His arm was wrapped around a young woman with gentle eyes. Beside them, a much younger Ibuka stood with a toothless grin. Her breath caught. The ground seemed to shift beneath her feet. This is... Her voice cracked. She pressed the photo to her chest, unable to finish the sentence. Ibuka nodded. "This is my papa. Mama said he was important. A great man. She told me to be proud of him. Even when he left us, she said I should never speak badly about him." His lips trembled. "I don't hate him, madam. I just wanted him to stay." Chinyere dropped the photo onto the table, her face pale. The weight of betrayal crashed over her like a wave. All those years she had trusted him, stood by him, defended him, and he had been living another life with another woman. She stood suddenly pacing the room. Her steps echoed against the marble. Her hands shook as she clutched her robe tighter. "How could he?" she muttered under her breath. "How could he do this to me?" Ibuka's eyes widened. "Madam, are you all right?" She turned sharply to him, her face flushed with emotion. "Do you know who your papa was, Ibuka? Do you know his full name?" The boy looked confused. "No, Mama never told me. She only said he was a big man. She said people respected him everywhere he went. She didn't tell me his real name. But I remember something." Chinyere froze. "What do you remember?" Ibuka's brows furrowed as he tried to recall. "Sometimes when Papa came, people called him Chief. They said, 'Chief, welcome.' And once Mama called him Obiora." Chinyere's body stiffened. Her heart pounded like a drum in her ears. There was no more denying it, no more pretending. The boy's father was Chief Obiora, her husband. Her knees felt weak, and she sank into a chair. She buried her face in her hands, shaking her head. Ibuka watched her nervously. "Madam, did I say something wrong?" She looked up at him, her face streaked with tears she could no longer hold back. "No, child, you said the truth, a truth I did not want to hear." He tilted his head, confused. "You knew Papa?" Her lips trembled. "Yes," she whispered. "I knew him better than anyone, because I was his wife." Ibuka's eyes widened in shock. You are Papa's wife?" Yes, she said bitterly. I was his wife. I stood beside him for years. And all the while, he was with your mother too. The boy's small body stiffened. He looked down ashamed. I am sorry, madam. I did not know. Please don't hate me. Chinyeri's chest ached. She reached across the table, grabbing his hand. No, Ibuka. I do not hate you. You are not the one who betrayed me. It was him, your papa. The boy's lips quivered. I only wanted to know him more. Mama said he loved us. Was that true? Chinyer closed her eyes, fresh pain washing over her. She could not answer. She did not know anymore if Obiora had truly loved anyone, or if he had only loved himself. The boy's grip tightened on her hand. Please, madam, don't send us away. I will work. I will clean. Just don't let my sisters die on the street. Her eyes softened as she looked at him. Despite the anger burning inside her toward her late husband, she could not ignore the innocence in the boy's face. You will not go back to the street, she said firmly. Not while I breathe. Ibuka burst into tears, dropping to his knees. Thank you, madam. Thank you. Mama was right. She said one day we would meet someone who would not turn us away. Chinyer pulled him up and embraced him tightly. You are safe here, Ibuka. You and your sisters. But even as she held him, her heart twisted with pain. The ghosts of her husband's betrayal surrounded her, whispering, mocking, reminding her of the lies she had lived under. And she knew, deep down, that this was only the beginning of a storm that would shake her life forever. The night after the shocking discovery felt heavier than any Chinyer had ever lived through. She lay awake in her wide bed, staring at the ceiling. Her mind refused to rest. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the pendant glinting in Ibuka's small hand, or the photograph with Obiora smiling beside another woman. Betrayal clawed at her chest. So it was true. All the whispers were true. She turned on her side, clutching her pillow. Obiora, why? Why did you do this to me? And yet, when she thought of Ibuka's tears, his trembling voice begging her not to send them away, something in her softened. The boy had done nothing wrong. The twins were innocent. They had been left to suffer because of a man's choices. By dawn, she had made a decision. She would not cast them out. The next morning, the mansion buzzed with whispers. Servants moved about carrying trays and laundry, but their eyes always strayed toward the nursery where the twins lay, or the boy sitting quietly with a slice of bread in his hand. Ngozi, the housekeeper, marched into the kitchen, shaking her head. This house is not the same. How can Madam bring strangers in like this? Today it is children. Tomorrow, who knows? One of the maids whispered, but the boy looks like Chief, doesn't he? Even the doctor said it. Ngozi glared. And that is why this is dangerous. If people outside find out, there will be war in this family. Chinyere came down the stairs dressed in a fine wrapper and blouse, her head high as always. She carried herself with authority, though her heart was still heavy. She entered the dining room and saw Ibuka feeding Ifunanya with small spoonfuls of pap that the cook had prepared. His hands were clumsy, but his eyes were gentle. You are learning quickly, she said. Ibuka looked up, startled. Good morning, madam. I'm trying. She eats slowly, but I don't want her to choke. Chinyer sat across from him. You are doing well, but from now on there will be nannies to help you. You are still a child. You cannot do everything alone. Ibuka shook his head stubbornly. I promised Mama I would care for them. I don't want anyone else to take them away from me. Chinyer leaned forward, her voice softer. They will not be taken away, but you must learn to trust help. You cannot raise them by yourself. Even mothers need support. The boy hesitated, then nodded slowly. At that moment, Ngozi entered, her face grim. Madam, your in-laws are here. Chinyer's eyes narrowed. So early? They came with anger, Ngozi replied. I told them you were busy, but they would not listen. They are in the sitting room. Chinyer stood, her stomach tightening. She knew this day would come. When she entered the grand sitting room, she found 4 of Obiora's relatives waiting. His elder brother, Uncle Damien, his sister, Auntie Gladys, and 2 cousins, Uchenna and Amika. Their faces were dark with fury. Damien rose to his feet immediately. Chinyer, what is this nonsense we are hearing? That you brought bastards into this house? Chinyer's face was calm, though inside her heart pounded. Lower your voice. This is my home. Your home? Gladys scoffed. This house belongs to the Obiora family, not only you. You think because our brother left you in charge, you can do anything? Uchenna slammed his hand on the glass table. People are talking already. They say Chief's widow has picked street rats and is calling them children. Do you know what shame this brings to our name? Chenier folded her arms, her eyes sharp. The only shame here is that you call children rats. They are human beings. Damien's face turned red. Do not twist words. You know very well who they are. The boy looks exactly like Obiora. Are you trying to disgrace us by bringing his mistakes into the open? Her lips pressed tightly. Obiora's mistakes? You mean his children? Innocent children left to die in the rain? Gladys leaned forward, her voice like venom. Don't act like a saint, Chenier. You never gave him children. Now you want to raise another woman's offspring in his mansion? We will not allow it. Those words stabbed her deeply, but she did not flinch. Instead, she straightened her shoulders. You think I don't feel pain when you remind me I had no children of my own? You think I don't know? But that is not the issue here. The issue is that your brother abandoned his own blood, and now they are in my care. Uchenna laughed bitterly. So you admit it. They are his. Then they have no place here. If they stay, tomorrow they will claim inheritance. Is that your plan? To rob us and hand everything to them? Chenieri's voice rose, firm and sharp. Rob you? Did you work for any of this wealth? Was it not Obiora and I who built it? You only came to eat from the table, and now you fear children will take your portion. Emeka finally spoke, his voice low but dangerous. Chenier, listen well. Send them away quietly. Give them money if you like. But if you keep them here, you will start a war you cannot win. Chenier's eyes blazed. I am not afraid of war, and I will not throw them out like trash. They will stay under my roof, and no one will touch them. Damien's fist clenched. You are making a grave mistake. She stepped closer, her finger pointing at him. The grave mistake was Obiora's betrayal. Do not punish these children for his sins. If you try to harm them, you will fight me first. The room fell silent. Her voice echoed like thunder, and her words cut through the air like a blade. At that moment, Ebuka entered quietly, holding Ijoma in his arms. His small eyes widened when he saw the angry relatives. He froze by the door. Gladys hissed, Look at him. He is the mirror of Obiora. How can you stomach it, Chenier? Every day you look at him, you will remember your husband's betrayal. Chenier turned to the boy and softened her voice. Come, Ebuka. He walked slowly to her side, clutching the baby tighter. His body trembled under the glares of the adults. Chenier placed her arm protectively around his shoulder. This child is under my protection now. If you want to throw him out, you will have to drag me with him. Damien sneered. So you choose them over family? Her chin lifted. They are family. You are the ones acting like strangers. The relatives exchanged dark looks, their anger burning. Finally, Damien spoke through clenched teeth. This is not over, Chenier. We will not stand by and watch you shame the Obiora name. They stormed out of the house, their footsteps echoing through the hallway. The doors slammed shut behind them, leaving silence in their wake. Chenier exhaled heavily, her body shaking. Ebuka looked up at her with wide, fearful eyes. Madam, did they want to take us away? She knelt down to his level, brushing his cheek gently. Yes, but I will never allow it. Not as long as I live. The boy's lips trembled. But they hate us. They said bad things. Maybe it is better if we leave. Her voice hardened with determination. No, leaving is not an option. You belong here now, and I will fight anyone who says otherwise. She pulled him close, holding him and the baby tightly. In that moment, her heart made a vow. She would protect them, no matter what storm the family brought against her. And though the mansion was quiet again, she knew the real battle had just begun. The heavy silence that followed the relatives' stormy exit lingered long after they were gone. The echo of their angry voices seemed to cling to the mansion walls. Ebuka sat close to Chenier, still holding baby Ijoma in his arms, while little Ifunanya slept in the crib nearby. His small shoulders shook, though he tried to hide it. Chenier noticed his trembling and gently rested a hand on his back. Do not fear them, she said firmly. They have no power here. Ibuka looked up at her with wide, tear-filled eyes. But madam, they hate me. They said I should not be here. What if they come back and carry us away? Chinyere's jaw tightened. They will not. I promise you, Ibuka. They can talk, they can shout, but they cannot take you or your sisters from me. You are under my protection now. The boy stared at her, searching her face for truth. Slowly he nodded, though fear still lingered in his eyes. Later that evening, Chinyere called her lawyer, Mr. Okike, to the mansion. He was a careful man in his 50s with round glasses and a calm voice. He had handled Chief Obiora's business affairs for many years. When he arrived, he bowed respectfully. Madam, I came as soon as you called, he said. Chinyere gestured for him to sit. There is something I must know, Okeke. Tell me the truth. When Obiora died, did he leave anything behind? Anything apart from the official will we all read? The lawyer shifted uncomfortably. Madam, the will we read was the only one made public. But, he paused, adjusting his glasses. Chinyere's eyes narrowed. But what? Okeke lowered his voice. When we went through the chief's documents after his death, I noticed a sealed envelope in his private safe. It was marked for my wife's eyes only. I gave it to you, madam, but you told me you did not wish to open it at the time. Her breath caught. She remembered. In those dark days of mourning, she had been too broken, too angry to face anything else. She had shoved the envelope into a drawer and never looked at it again. Do you still have it? Okeke asked. Yes, she whispered. Upstairs in my study. Then perhaps, madam, he said gently, it is time you open it. Chinyere dismissed him for the night and went upstairs. Her steps were heavy as she entered the study. She opened the drawer of her desk and pulled out the dusty envelope. Her hands shook as she broke the seal. Inside was a folded letter and a smaller envelope marked Addendum to Will. Her heart pounded as she opened the letter. My dear wife, it began. If you are reading this, then I am no more. I know I have wronged you. I lived a life of secrets, and for that, I beg your forgiveness. There are children out there who bear my blood. If fate is kind, you may one day meet them. I could not bring myself to tell you when I was alive, for I feared your anger and shame. But know this, they are innocent. If you ever find them, do not turn them away. Her eyes blurred with tears. She could hardly continue, but she forced herself. I have left an instruction with Okeke. This addendum to my will names those children as secondary heirs. Should you wish to honor it, the decision is yours. If you choose to reject it, no one will question you. But if you choose to accept them, protect them as you would have protected ours, had we been blessed with children? Her hands dropped, the paper falling to the desk. A cry escaped her lips, sharp and raw. She pressed her palms against her face, shaking. Obiora, she whispered bitterly, even in death you wound me. The next morning she summoned Okeke again. This time she handed him the smaller envelope. Open it. He carefully slid it open and drew out the papers. His eyes widened as he read. Madam, this is indeed a valid addendum. It clearly names the children of Nika as secondary heirs to Chief Obiora's estate. It was signed and sealed before witnesses. Chinyere's stomach turned. So it is true. Okeke looked at her cautiously. Do you wish me to register this formally? Before she could answer, voices erupted downstairs. The relatives had returned. Damien, Gladys, and the cousins stormed into the mansion, their faces twisted with fury. Chinyere, Damien shouted. We heard rumors, and now we know the truth. There is another will, isn't there? Chinyere descended the stairs slowly, her eyes cold. You know too much for men who claim loyalty. Gladys pointed an accusing finger. So it's true, he left something for those children. And you want to use it to throw us out. Uchenna slammed his fist on the railing. Do you realize what this means? If this will is recognized, those bastards will inherit. They will take what belongs to us. Chinyere's voice rang out, sharp as a blade. What belongs to you? Did you sweat with Obiora? Did you build these companies? You came only to eat, and now you fear losing your plate. Shame on all of you. Damien stepped forward, his eyes blazing. We will not allow it. We will go to court if we must. We will not sit and watch these strangers take our brother's wealth. Strangers? Chinyere shot back. She pulled Ibuka forward, who had been standing quietly at the door, clutching Ifunanya. Look at his face. Does he look like a stranger to you? He is your brother's blood. The twins are your blood. And you want to throw them away like garbage? Gladys sneered. They are a stain on his name. A shame on our family. Chinyere's voice thundered across the room. No, Gladys. The shame is not in the children. The shame is in Obiora's betrayal and in your hearts that refuse to love. The relatives fell silent, stunned by her fire. Okiki cleared his throat carefully. Legally, Madam is correct. The addendum is valid. If registered, these children have a claim. The law will recognize them. Uchena's face twisted with rage. Then we will fight it. We will drag this through court. We will not give up our inheritance. Chinyere stepped forward, her eyes blazing. Try it. I will fight you to the end. I will spend every kobo to protect these children. You think you can scare me? I have faced boardrooms filled with men hungrier than you. I did not bow to them, and I will not bow to you. Damien pointed a trembling finger at her. This is war, Chinyere. Her chin lifted. So be it. They stormed out once again, slamming the doors behind them. As silence returned, Chinyere turned to Ebuka, who still clutched the baby tightly. His eyes were wide with fear. Madam, he whispered, why do they hate us so much? We didn't do anything. Chinyere knelt beside him, touching his cheek. You did nothing wrong. You are innocent. Remember that always. The fight is not yours, Ebuka. It is mine, and I will never let them take you away. The boy's lips trembled. You will keep us, even if they fight? Her voice was steady, filled with fire. Yes, even if the whole world fights, I will keep you. And as she held him close, she knew the storm was only beginning, but she also knew her heart had chosen its path. The mansion grew quieter after the relatives stormed out, but the peace was only on the surface. Beneath it, tension bubbled like fire, waiting to break free. The servants whispered more than ever, their eyes darting to Ebuka and the twins whenever they passed. Ngozi, the housekeeper, avoided Chinyere's gaze, though her lips often pressed tight as if holding back words. Chinyere herself felt the weight of war pressing down. The letter, the addendum to the will, the confrontation, all of it had shaken her. But one thing remained clear in her heart. She could not let those children go. They had been left in her care for a reason. That night she sat in her study, the documents spread across her desk. Her lawyer, Okiki, sat opposite her. Madam, he said carefully, this situation is dangerous. Your in-laws will not rest. They will use everything. Law, gossip, even force to fight you. Chinyere folded her arms. Let them come. I will not be intimidated. Courage is good, Okiki said, but courage must be protected. Do you have guards you trust? She frowned. The house is guarded, but you are right. Perhaps more security is needed. Okiki leaned forward. Please, madam, for the children's sake, be careful. If they cannot win through the law, they may try other ways. Her heart tightened. She glanced at the nursery monitor on her desk where the twins slept peacefully. Ibuka curled on a mattress beside them. They will not touch these children, she said firmly. The following days proved Okiki right. Strange things began to happen. A black car was spotted near the gates, lingering for hours. One of the guards reported seeing a man trying to scale the back wall at night. Servants whispered that thugs were being paid to teach Madam a lesson. Chinyere tightened security immediately, doubling the number of guards. But even with the new measures, fear crept into the mansion. One evening, as the sun set and the compound was bathed in orange light, Ebuka played in the garden with his sisters. He laid a blanket on the grass, letting the twins roll and giggle. For the first time in weeks, they looked like ordinary children. Chinyere watched them from the balcony. A small smile touched her lips, though worry never left her eyes. Suddenly, a loud noise shattered the moment. The front gate burst open, and two masked men rushed inside. The guards shouted, chaos erupting. "Grab the babies!" one thug yelled. Ibuka's eyes widened in horror. He scooped up Ifunanya in his arms and reached for Ijoma, but the men were already upon him. "Run!" he screamed at the top of his lungs. "Run!" The guards fought back, fists and sticks clashing, but one of the thugs lunged at Ibuka. The boy twisted his body to shield the baby, taking a hard blow to his side. He cried out in pain but refused to let go. "Leave them alone," he shouted, his small voice filled with desperation. Chinière raced down the stairs, her heart pounding. "Ibuka!" she screamed. By the time she reached the garden, the guards had overpowered the thugs. One lay groaning on the ground, the other pinned against the wall. Ibuka knelt on the grass, clutching the twins tightly. His shirt was torn, blood staining his side where the blow had landed. His face was pale, but his arms never loosened around the babies. Chinière dropped beside him, tears spilling from her eyes. "My son, are you hurt?" He shook his head quickly, though his voice trembled. I didn't let them take the girls, madam. I promised, Mama. I kept them safe." Her chest ached so deeply she thought her heart would break. She touched his face gently. "You are brave, braver than any man I know." The guards dragged the thugs away, and the compound returned to uneasy silence. Chinière turned to Okiki, who had arrived in the chaos. Her voice shook with fury. "This is what I feared. They will not stop. They will kill these children if they can." Okiki nodded grimly. "It seems your in-laws are willing to go to any length." Chinière hugged Ibuka close, his small body trembling against her. "Then hear me well, Okiki. If they want war, they will get it. But I will never let these children fall into their hands. Never." She lifted her head, her eyes burning with fire. "I will protect them with everything I have, even if it costs me my life." And in that vow, spoken under the setting sun with Ibuka and the twins in her arms, the Iron Lady's heart became stronger than ever before. The night after the attack was long and heavy. The mansion was quiet, but the silence felt uneasy, like the calm after thunder. Guards patrolled every corner of the compound, their flashlights cutting through the darkness. Inside, the servants whispered nervously, shaken by the violence they had witnessed. In her room, Chinière sat beside Ibuka, who lay on the bed with a bandage wrapped around his side. The blow he had taken had left a nasty bruise, but the doctor assured it would heal. The twins slept peacefully in their cribs nearby, unaware of the chaos that had nearly torn them away. Chinière stroked Ibuka's hair gently. "You should be resting," she said softly. His eyes opened slowly and he gave a faint smile. "I don't mind the pain, madam. I just didn't want them to take my sisters." Tears stung her eyes. "You are just a boy, Ibuka. Yet you fought like a man. You put your own life at risk to protect them." He shook his head. "I promised Mama. I told her I would never let anyone hurt them. And now, I promised you too. I won't break it." Her throat tightened. For years she had longed for children. For years she had lived with the pain of empty arms. And now this boy, who had come into her life in the rain, was slowly becoming more than just a reminder of betrayal. He was becoming her son. She pressed his hand gently. "You are not alone anymore, Ibuka. I will fight for you as fiercely as you fought for them." His eyes glistened, but he looked away quickly, as though afraid to cry. The next morning, the relatives returned, this time with more voices, more accusations. They gathered in the large sitting room, their anger sharp and loud. Damien slammed his fist on the table. "This has gone too far," he shouted. "Our family name is being dragged through the mud. Now thugs are attacking. This is what happens when you bring shame into the house," Gladys added, her voice dripping with bitterness. "You see, Chinière, even the universe rejects this decision. How can you risk all of us for children who are not yours?" Chinière stood at the head of the room, her arms crossed. Her face was calm, but her eyes burned with determination. "Do not twist the truth. The attack came because you stirred it. If you had not spread your poison, no one would dare raise a hand against these children." Uchenna sneered. "And you are still defending them. Have you no pride? Have you forgotten who you are? You are Madame Chinière, the wife of Chief Obiora. Do you want to be remembered as the woman who raised the children of his mistress?" For a moment, the words cut deep. Pride was something Chinière had always carried like armor. She had always protected her name, her dignity, her status. But when her eyes drifted to Ibuka, standing quietly by the door, with the twins beside him, she felt her heart speak louder than her pride. "Yes," she said firmly. "If that is how I will be remembered, then so be it." The relatives gasped, their voices rising at once. Unbelievable, Damien shouted. She has lost her mind, Gladys hissed. This will ruin us, Uchenna bellowed. Chenier raised her hand sharply and the room fell silent. Her voice rang out like thunder. Listen well, I carried your insults yesterday. I carried your threats. But today I will speak clearly so there is no confusion. These children are innocent. They carry no sin. They did not choose their father. They did not choose the betrayal. Yet they are the ones suffering. That ends now. She stepped forward, her chin high. From this day I declare them mine. Ebuka, Ifunanya, and Ijoma will live in this house. They will be raised as my own children. They will carry my protection, my name, and my love. And if anyone, family or stranger, dares to challenge that, they will face me first. The relatives sat in stunned silence. Never had they seen Chenier speak with such fire. Damien finally stood, his face red. You shame us all. You disgrace our brother's name. You disgrace yourself. Chenier looked him straight in the eyes. No, Damien, the disgrace was Obiora's. The disgrace is your hatred. But love will not be a disgrace. I choose love. Her words echoed through the mansion. Even the servants peeking from the hallways felt the weight of her declaration. Later, when the relatives had stormed out once again, the mansion grew quiet. Ibuka approached slowly, his small hands clenched. He had heard every word from the doorway. Madam, he whispered. You said we are yours now. Did you mean it? She turned to him, her eyes softening. Yes, Ebuka. I meant every word. You are mine now. All three of you. His lips trembled. For years he had lived without a father. For weeks he had feared losing even the stranger who had shown him kindness. But now, the woman he once called Madam was claiming him as her own. Tears spilled down his cheeks and he threw his arms around her waist. His voice cracked as he whispered, Mama. The word broke her completely. She wrapped her arms around him, holding him tightly as tears streamed down her face. Yes, she whispered back, her voice shaking. Mama, that is who I am now. The twins gurgled in their crib as though echoing the moment. The servants stood silently, some wiping their own tears. For the first time in years, the Iron Lady's mansion felt alive again, not with wealth or pride, but with the sound of family being born out of brokenness. And in that embrace, Chenier knew she had made her choice. Love had won over pride. The morning after Ibuka called her mama, the mansion no longer felt the same. For the first time in many years, Chenier felt warmth in her heart that even wealth had never given her. She moved through the halls with a different light in her eyes, and the servants noticed it. The Iron Lady who once carried only pride now carried something gentler, love. Ebuka stayed close to her side, and the twins never left her sight. The boy still looked nervous when he saw guards patrolling, but whenever Chenier's hand touched his shoulder, he calmed. But outside the mansion, the storm of conflict was still raging. Her relatives spread rumors through the city, whispering in boardrooms and family gatherings. They told anyone who would listen that Chenier had lost her mind, that she was throwing away her dignity for bastard children. The board of directors began calling meetings more often. Some supported her, some spoke against her, and some only watched, waiting to see which side would win. Chenier knew she had to act. It was not enough to protect the children inside her home. She had to secure their future. One afternoon, she called Mr. Okiki, the lawyer, to her study. Ebuka sat quietly in a chair nearby, holding one twin while the nanny cradled the other. Okeka, she began firmly, I want papers drawn immediately. I will adopt Ebuka and the twins officially. From today, they will carry my name. They will be heirs to my estate. Okiki blinked behind his glasses. Madam, you are sure? Once this is filed, it cannot be undone. Chenier looked at Ebuka, who was trying to make the baby laugh by tapping her tiny hands together. She smiled faintly. I am sure. I lived with emptiness for too long. I will not waste this second chance. Okeki nodded slowly. Very well, madam. I will begin the process, but prepare yourself. Your in-laws will rage like never before. They already rage, she said sharply. Let them. My decision is final. The news spread quickly. Within days, her in-laws gathered again, this time storming the board meeting of the family company. The large conference room filled with raised voices. Damien banged the table. "This is madness. She is trying to rewrite the family name. She wants to hand everything to children of a mistress." Gladys shook her head furiously. "Our brother is gone. Must we suffer shame because she cannot accept it? Let her give them charity if she wants. But adoption? Never." Other board members murmured among themselves. Some looked uneasy, others nodded in agreement with the relatives. Chinière stood at the head of the table, her eyes calm but her voice firm. "Enough shouting. I will speak now." The room fell quiet. She straightened her back and looked each person in the eye. "Yes, I am adopting Ebuka and the twins. Yes, I am giving them my name. And yes, they will inherit from me when the time comes. You may hate it, you may fight it, but it will not change. Because this is not about you. It is about children who were left to suffer because of lies and betrayal. They are innocent, and I will not punish them for Obiora's sins." Damien laughed bitterly. "You think the law will protect you? You think society will clap for you? You are destroying everything your husband built." Her voice rose, steady as thunder. "No, I am saving it. If Obiora had been a man of truth, he would have stood for his children while he lived. But he failed. Now I must correct his failure. That is what true legacy means." The boardroom buzzed with whispers. Some nodded slowly, impressed by her courage. Others shook their heads, still angry. Gladys slammed her palm on the table. "You will regret this, Chinière." Chinière's eyes narrowed. "The only regret would be turning my back on children who need me. That regret I will never carry." That evening, she sat with Ebuka in the garden. The boy looked at her nervously. "Madam, no, Mama. Are you not afraid? Everyone is angry. They will fight you more." She cupped his face gently. "I have faced anger before. I have faced men who thought I was too weak to sit at the table. I fought and I won. This battle is different, but my heart is stronger now. Because now I am not fighting for myself. I am fighting for you." His lips trembled. "Mama, why? Why would you do all this for us?" Tears filled her eyes, but she smiled. "Because love is stronger than pride. Because you are mine now. And because you called me Mama." The boy hugged her tightly, his small arms clinging to her waist. She held him close, her heart swelling with emotion. Weeks later, the adoption was finalized. The judge signed the papers declaring Ebuka, Ifunanya, and Ijoma the lawful children of Madame Chinière. The trust fund was created in their names, securing their future forever. When they returned home from the court, the mansion erupted in celebration. Even the servants who once whispered in doubt now clapped with joy. Some cried openly, moved by the transformation they had witnessed. Ebuka stood proudly at Chinière's side, the papers clutched in his hand. "Mama," he whispered, "it is real now. We belong." "Yes, my son," she said, her eyes shining. "You belong." But one more journey remained, one that Chinière could no longer avoid. The following Sunday, she dressed in a simple black gown and took the children to the cemetery. The air was quiet, the grass wet with morning dew. They walked slowly to the grave of Chief Obiora. The headstone stood tall, carved with his name. Chinière stopped in front of it, her chest tightening. Memories rushed back, his laughter, his lies, his betrayal. She clenched her fists, fighting back tears. Ebuka looked up at her. "Mama, is this Papa's grave?" She nodded slowly. "Yes, child. This is where he rests." The boy's eyes lowered. He stepped closer, his voice small. "Papa, it's me, Ebuka. I don't know if you can hear me. I wanted to see you many times, but you didn't come back. I am not angry, but I missed you. These are my sisters. We are safe now. Mama takes care of us." Chinière's heart broke at his words. She fell to her knees, tears spilling freely. She pressed her hand to the cold stone. "Obiora," she whispered through sobs. "You betrayed me. You lied to me. You left me alone. But still, I carried your name with dignity. And now I carry your children too. Not because of you, but in spite of you. I forgive you. But I will never forget." Her tears fell onto the grass. She pulled Ebuka and the twins close to her, wrapping her arms around them tightly. "Look at them," she cried softly. "Look at what you left behind. They are mine now, and I will not fail them the way you failed us." The wind blew gently through the trees, as if carrying her words away. Ebika hugged her tightly, his small voice breaking. "Mama, don't cry. We are here. We will not leave you." She held him tighter, her tears soaking his shoulder. "Yes, my son. We have each other now. That is enough." The twins cooed softly, their tiny hands reaching out as though to comfort her. And in that moment, kneeling by the grave of betrayal yet surrounded by new love, Madame Chenier finally let go of the weight she had carried for years. The Iron Lady's heart was no longer cold. It was alive, warm, and filled with hope. The story that had begun in the rain with a boy begging on the street had ended here, in tears of acceptance. And from that day, everyone who spoke of Madame Chenier no longer called her just the Iron Lady. They called her Mama, the woman who chose love over pride, and in doing so found the family she had always longed for.